Welcome to Game Set Matchup, the podcast where we talk everything partnerships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So hello everyone, I'm Carl Busby, your host of Game Set Matchup, the #1 partnerships podcast, and we are back with another episode. So today I caught up with Linkon Axon, who is the ISV Partner Manager at a payments company called Swipen. So Linkon comes from a general management background, having previously worked with multi-million-pound companies, wore lots of hats in those businesses, so to speak, and then has moved into the partnership space. He's been at Swipen for about 3 years now, and developed a lot of experience in the partnership space, having created partnerships with lots of different businesses. We catch up on the types of traits he looks for in a business before looking to potentially partner with them, and the fundamentals and the foundations of what gives you the best opportunity in making sure a partnership takes off on the right foot and then remains solid throughout. Linkon gives us some good advice on what he would tell his younger self, and there is some good advice in there, so listen on to find out. So Swipen is available on Findr to speak to, so if you think there could be a potential conversation to be had, you can sign up and just request a call with him. Like all of our Findr members, he is open to having a conversation, and you never know where this could lead. As always, details are in the description. As always, enjoy this week's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Set Matchups. This is the podcast where we discuss all things partnerships. Maybe you're new to the partnerships world, looking for a bit of advice on how to get started. Maybe you are a pro, but you're just looking for a bit of a new inspirational direction, whichever one it is. We obviously, as always, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Carl Busby, as always, and we welcome our guest today. It's Linkon Axon, who is a consultant and partner manager at Swipen. Hello, and welcome, Linkon.
Hello. Hi, guys. Hello out there in the partner world. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching this, it's great. And thank you very much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's the pleasure's ours. But thank you for coming and speaking to us. So obviously the disclaimer, we've obviously met before, one of the Findr collective events that we do, which is a great chance for everybody to get together and do some face-to-face networking. You kindly came and spoke on one of our panels. So obviously I've already met you before, and so we thought it would be great to catch up and just elaborate on some of the stuff we discussed at the event in Edinburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great event. I just want to say, I thought there was a lot of value given there, and I think if anybody else wants to go along and learn from even an ICP or an IPP point of view, they're absolutely invaluable. The skills and expertise that were on show that day were phenomenal, and I learned a lot from that myself. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cool. All right. So we'll just start as we usually do. If you could just give a bit of a introduction to our listeners, just tell a little bit more about yourself, a bit about your background, and then sort of the current role, what you're doing sort of at Swipen, in that sort of partnership space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've come from a general management background, of all things. So I wore the many hats and, managing the multi-million pound budgets, and was successful in that role. Also touched on sales and eventually ended up in partnerships. So I am the current ISV Partner Manager for Swipen, who is a payment service provider, merchant service provider to a number of startups, tier ones, enterprise, SME or SMB customers as well. And it is a partner-led business. We've been partner-led from the ground up, and we're currently running roughly 70% of all commercial revenue through the business.
That's amazing. And just a bit with that, how long have you been at Swipen for?
Yep. So I've been with them now just over 3 years.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So obviously good a bit of time there. Cool. So just onto obviously the subject partnerships. This is what this podcast is all about. So obviously again, I know we've spoke previously. I know you've got obviously a wealth of experience in this part. So, when it comes to deciding, maybe on something a business or something that you potentially looking to partner with. Obviously, I'm sure there's loads of things that you're kind of your brain's sort of looking at and trying to work out, like, is this going to be a decent fit? But what sort of what would you say like the most important traits that you would look for in a business that you potentially would want to look to partner with?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and you're right. It's a multi-layered question. So, but I've had a good think, and I think there's sort of 6 primary qualification metrics that we use and I use as a consultant and as a partner manager. I think shared vision and values, massive, like has to be, alignment. I've said that many times before to many other people. They ask me, what a very similar question, and I always answer a very similar thing: alignment, alignment, and alignment.
Yeah.
We'll come to that a little bit later on, but shared vision and values, absolutely massive. If they're not aligned, then you're dead in the water before you begin. Complementary skills and expertise are a massive one as well. You have to be aligned in your skills and your expertise to create that joint venture proposition that ultimately then goes for or adapts to the needs of the end client. Resourcefulness, which includes adaptability and flexibility. You need to be flexible and you need to be adaptable. Especially in partner management, there's no one size fits all. So you need to be able to be adaptable and flexible yourself. And you have to see that in your partner as well, and how resourceful they can be. Integrity is a big one for me, Carl. I think integrity, you have to be able to talk the talk, but you have to be able to walk the walk. And that's really, really important. You see so many people talking a great game, but actually when it comes down to it, they fail to deliver on what they promise. So that, I think, in partnerships, to create that all important trust and respect and build the foundation of relationships, integrity, massive. And I think one that's maybe slightly left field is financial stability, actually, is what we look for in a company as well. We make sure that they are fiscally viable. We are a SaaS product, and we work with onboarding through banks and work with underwriting and risk teams all the time. So we spend a good amount of time on Companies House, for example. So, making sure that who you're partnering up actually has long-term viability through that financial stability, absolutely key.
No, that is massive. Obviously you've gone through quite a few bits there, but I think when we talk to people, values, and trust, obviously two of the ones that always sort of pop up. If the trust is not there, or say you don't share those sort of same values, likely it is that you're going to find some bumps in the road further down the line, and then obviously it becomes a bit more of an issue.
Sometimes that's important as well. It's not necessarily spotting the issues, and I think that's a real superpower, actually. Not necessarily spotting the issues that you can see right in front of your face now, but actually being able to spot the issues that might present themselves 6 months down the line.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I think obviously, again, it's another key thing to any sort of partnership is getting into how you manage those problems, but we'll probably come on to that a little bit later. But we'll just obviously with Swipen, so obviously we talked about obviously what Swipen sort of do, and one of the questions we ask a lot to members at Findr, because we talk to try and get a sort of understanding is like, what would you say a gold star partnership looks for Swipen? Obviously we use the term gold star, but it's more just like if you could have if something could work perfectly, and no things are perfect, we all know that, but if if everyone's listening out there, or any sort of business thinking, what is it that Swipen is actually looking for? What would you defines kind of like that, that gold star partnership for you and Swipen?
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Crickets. I thought I'd throw that one in there without actually telling you, Carl, just to see the reaction. No, it's funny. I actually believe that wholeheartedly. There is no such thing as a gold star partnership. The best you can do is to create or build a gold star environment. I think because, again, every relationship and partnership is different and bespoke. The absolute best you can do is create that gold star environment in which the partnership will thrive. I think everyone has different needs, have different ways of communicating, etc. And if there is a gold star partnership program or partnership out there, please let me know, but I've never found one. Literally all you can do is create an environment. Examples of that would be making sure you've got a result driven strategy that you both agree on. customer focused outcomes. As we've said, partnerships essentially are reverse engineered from what the client or both partners, customers would like or would want, or their best outcome, and then reverse engineer it from there to base your proposition and your partnership management around that. Best fit communications, ease of onboarding, aligned incentives, to maximize that value proposition is absolutely huge. I mean, if you want a very clear example of what we do, I mean, Swipen is in the SaaS space. So, we with various, payment processing software integrations and offers. So a natural line fit for us as a hardware company, Sharp are one of our partners. So that straight out of the box is a super aligned as a joint venture initiative that, offers both end clients an enhanced value proposition in the form of a more complete offer. That's ultimately what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, you said about the reverse engineering. I think I like that point, because, we've, again, conversations with people, partnerships, a lot of partnerships can come from somebody having a problem or something to solve. And then you obviously can go to them with to say, look, we can only help to fix that problem. So you're starting with that, and then you work, obviously working sort of backwards. So I think that's just really good. No,
absolutely. I don't think it matters what sector you're in as well, Carl. I think every product or service offer on the planet needs to be shaped by the client. Full stop.
Yeah. No, I like that 100%. Okay. Just moving on to, so obviously we, I mentioned at the beginning, obviously we met at Findr Collect event, which obviously one of the networking events that we sort of host, help members and people get talking to each other face to face, the old school way, so to speak. But
that's the best way to do it. Great ROI.
Yeah, no, I agree. So obviously, obviously at Findr, we're trying to obviously change that whole space and get people getting, in front of people and talking to decision makers. How are you sort of at the moment going about sort of, creating those? So obviously Findr would be obviously one example. We just sort of, I think my listeners to know, like, how do you go about looking for, or how do you, get to speak to people to even start having, a conversation about, what it is that you can actually offer?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great question. I think times have very much changed post-pandemic. I think we all know that we've seen the paradigm shift, especially in communications. And now with the emergence of AI, we're witnessing, probably the biggest communications paradigm shift in probably a generation. So yes, I mean, find a platform, massive, enable yourself and, finding those partners as easily as possible with fantastic solutions like Findr, is an absolute must. Obviously you have your professional platforms, social media platforms like LinkedIn. That's absolutely huge. We use that a lot. There's hundreds of millions of people on there, and it's a great platform to find those aligned partnerships and relationships that you can work from. And I try to have as many conversations as possible, Carl, just talking to people. You never know where a conversation may go. If it's personal or professional, that conversation could take you places, and it has, in my experience, to places that you just would never expect it to materialize. And I've got some of my biggest deals literally just from having conversation. In-person events are big, in real life is massive. And I think you do get a really, really high ROI off the back of that, because, I believe the two highest or best ROI marketing tools you can have is social proof, people talking about what you do and how well you do it, and then direct recommendation. People listen to people, and they will always buy and listen to people that they trust. And those recommendations are absolutely huge. So that whole nearbound market, which essentially is the people that you deal with on a daily basis, whether it be client, customer, supplier, friend, or foe, is massive. And I think if you leverage that, then I think it's an absolutely huge advantage to any business.
Yeah, that's great. I love the point you just said about there. As you said, some of the sort of biggest deals you've done has just come out of having a conversation. One of the things we say to members or anyone we obviously talk to about with Findr is that just having a bit of an open mind when you do talk to other businesses. I think obviously for everyone, sometimes people are trying to get a specific sector or a specific target, or they're looking at it's kind of like sort of blinking a little bit. Whereas, that's what we're all about here, just opening up to just having those different ideas. And, we've definitely had feedback from members where, they've spoken to someone, didn't think there would be any point, but they had a conversation. And even sometimes not necessarily maybe that person, but somebody in their network or someone that's linked to them has said, oh, you know what, maybe you should talk to this person, and away you go, sort of thing.
Yeah. I had one of those off the Findr platform the other day. It was literally just a chat we were talking to. We actually found out within the first sort of 5 to 10 minutes we probably weren't aligned. It wasn't really a value proposition, but he said, look, I know this guy who owns a restaurant. Me and my wife went out to his restaurant the other day, and their card processing services were absolutely rubbish. He could definitely use your help. And then that conversation went to a different place, and we're currently in talks about boarding that account. So
that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So yes, again, and also feedback, hearing stories like that again just make my day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's brilliant. Cool. Just move on to a little bit sort of about like kind of the sort of actually one more time. No, we'll move on to younger self starting out. Yeah. So we like to ask this question to obviously to members and people that come on the podcast. Again, got lots of experience. If you can maybe think back, to kind of like just first starting out, getting into the partnerships game, any, sort of tips you would maybe give to yourself sort of back then, that you'd be, really sort of, it might just be one thing, just around maybe attitude, anything that kind of like you'd say to yourself, this is something you need to watch out for. So, members listening can take that advice now if they're getting into partnerships.
Yeah, absolutely. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Based on your experience, and yes, you're shaped by that. And I think, I've got a number. I mean, I think first and foremost, as we've kind of alluded to already, Carl, customers drive partner programs, not programs. That offer must be shaped by their needs. Simple as that. Simple things like expect to fail. But, because you're not going to board every partner that you talk to. It's always a numbers game, especially at the beginning with a startup business, for example, or whether you're in a new enterprise. It's a numbers game. You think you blanket and essentially you'll get conversions, but it doesn't work that way. It needs to be very focused. So be prepared for that. And I think let failure be a signpost on the road to success, which is really, really important. Stay as close to the revenue generating side of the business as possible. Leadership speaks one language, and that's the language of results. So I think that's what they're looking for from a partnership program. Yes, there's value in relationships and trust, but ultimately, as we've alluded to, the revenue generating side of the business is why a partner program exists. No revenue, no business, no partner program. So really, really important. Follow-ups is something I would tell myself if I was starting out again. Follow-ups are very much where you'll find the interest spikes. I've seen that many times. Basic marketing dictates that a potential customer needs to see something 7 times before they'll take action. I tend to find that when you're going back after and you keep that going, whether it's workflow automations via your email and your CRM or PRM, you tend to spike that interest a little bit more when you follow up. Metrics and data, really, really big one. I bang on about all this all the time on LinkedIn, and you need that metrics and data to optimize and adapt your program. It's just so important to show you are on that path to success. Probably a couple more. Keeping in onboarding and enablement clear and straightforward is big. For any partner that is, and I've lost partners in the past because that onboarding enablement hasn't been clear. It hasn't been straightforward. It's way too complicated, and it's not something that they want to use. So I think it's really important that you keep that as clear and straightforward as possible. So they actually, number one, want to use it. Number two, know how to use it. And then that obviously opens up the gates to enable them to pass you as many potential leads as possible. And I think probably the final two, and these are big, probably the 2 main points. Don't waste time on companies who don't get it. I've been in that position on a number of occasions. You think, it starts off really well, but ultimately then maybe during the onboarding process or, the first couple of months, you'd realize that they either haven't been honest, they don't know where they are, for example, or et cetera, et cetera. You've got to learn to say no. Again, real superpower, hard to do, especially when you're trying to scale, because you're thinking numbers, but quality beats quantity every time. And final point, have as many conversations as possible, as we already said.
Yeah.
I learned that very quickly once I'd got those kind of unaligned or something that you wouldn't expect from a conversation happen, and actually it converts. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah, no, love that. Well, I said lots of top tips there. So people obviously are, listening, said they can even pick on one of those, which obviously potentially can help, and I think would be a really good thing. So thank you for that. So just moving on to our next question. So obviously we talked about there. This sort of leads on quite nicely. Some of the things you sort of tell your younger self. What would you say are sort of tips when it comes to making sure that teams within your organisation also get on board to help maximise the partnership? Would you say, are there any teams specifically that sort of stand out that you would say help in gaining that partnership? So I think obviously one of the key things, I would be interested to hear your thoughts, is around getting people on board, within the business to see that same vision, I guess, in terms of what it is that you obviously you're trying to do, because obviously we don't get that buy-in. Sometimes it ends up falling flat before it's even started. So just thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, that's a really fantastic question. Something that I preach and advocate on many occasions is that internal buy-in. It's absolutely huge that everybody from top to bottom does that. So ultimately top down is top down, bottom up. That's where I would come at it from. From a top down perspective, you have no leadership buy-in, then you have no program. And as we've already said, you need to speak the language of results to leadership and use data and metrics to back up and optimize the results and the forecasts.
Yeah,
really, really important. Bottom up, build the necessary resources that support the processes you expect your internal teams to deliver on. Have a toolkit that you can draw on to use as best fit enablement for the individuals that you're working for. Things like ease of onboarding, improved UX and UI. Again, this is for the internal team, not necessarily the partner or the client. Do they need a PRM, for example, to automate that organization that allows you to scale as a company and scale the program? And flexibility is a big one as well. You have to be flexible because partnerships are a really fluid and dynamic ecosystem. Changing markets, changing potential colleagues and candidates. There's so many things that you need to be aware of. You really need to be on top of it and keep yourself flexible so that you can pivot and react in an appropriate manner.
No, I love that. I think people like use that term as well, to pivot. It gets used quite a lot in terms of when it comes to partnerships. As you said, things, they can be quite dynamic, quite sort of fluid. Changing. Both parties got to be able to, if you need to pivot and move, then you both want to be able to do that. Going back to that whole thing about trust and alignment.
Absolutely.
If you've got that, then those things should be much smoother.
Yeah.
That's great. And then also just again, did touch a bit before, because we talked a little bit about with AI, and I agree, like I said, it's just a massive. Well, we're in this boom at the moment. I think a lot of people probably don't quite realize how big it is. We've got things like ChatGPT now, which obviously is free, and that can do sort of incredible stuff. But just one of the things I'd like to ask, what do you think kind of the future sort of holds in this space, whether it be technologies, or like I said, or just things that people are going to be doing differently, or trying to do a bit differently than they may have done maybe 5 sort of 10 years ago. I mean, obviously that space has grown quite a bit obviously in that place anyway, but just any thoughts on that, how you think the future sort of looks for the partnership space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's bright. I think partnerships have gone through it probably the last 12 to 18 months, especially with the austerity that has had to happen off the back of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I think, most companies realize the impact that it does have. I mean, if you look at worldwide stats, about roughly 65% of all companies drive some sort of revenue through their company based on partnerships. So that's huge. I mean, the results are there. So, but for the future, I think, there's a number of things. I think embracing open innovation is absolutely huge. Co-creating innovative solutions that could potentially bring a new product to both end clients is absolutely massive. Things like ecosystem orchestration.
Authorization, yeah.
Is big. It's improved governance mechanisms, collaboration enablement tools to allow companies to seamlessly collaborate between their partners is massive. So having those orchestration tools is huge. Automation and AI, you're absolutely right. AI is something that's not going anywhere. You need to embrace it and use it as a tool. I think people see or highlight the negatives as we do, but actually there's a lot of positives. From a partnership program point of view, I've seen it, streamline onboarding, really enhance performance tracking, for example. AI, I've seen AI algorithms used to, help ID new partner opportunities and predict underlying issues. So, it's definitely something that's worth looking into there. And it's something definitely not to be afraid of. It's to be used, not abused. And I think that's really, really important and a great way to approach it as any new tool. Is, especially in the sort of integration SaaS technology space. I think data-driven decision-making is big. I think that's been big for a long time. But I think, especially in the partnership space, using KPIs as standard needs to be something to be able to speak the language of the leadership, analytics, customer behavioral insights, in behavioral models, etc. You're really using that data to drive decision-making of whether to adopt a program or to continue a program or to scale a program is super, super important. And I think something else that's worth highlighting is, especially, Carl, is the sustainability and social impact. It's a super important topic just now, and I think we all know that. It's very prevalent and very obvious. And I think it's important to incorporate this into a partnership ecosystem management strategy. It helps to align and create positive social and environment impact. And again, you never know what that impact may be, but if you're coming at it from that, positive. Making a positive change and incorporating that into your ecosystem management strategy, then I think that can only be a good thing.
No, I love that. I think, like you said, the common conception of AI and that kind of stuff is that, like you said, we always look at the negatives. People start, thinking it's going to take over the world, that kind of stuff. But like you said, we can't get away from it. It is coming in, and we just got to find, the best ways to embrace it and, use that technology to do good. I totally agree with that. And then look, so we're coming near to the end, but just the last question, just sort of to round up. Obviously, been fantastic speaking to you, and just getting all your experience has been really, really good. What would you just say are the two most important factors for having a successful partnership, and why? Obviously, a bit of and obviously some of the stuff obviously we've gone through and talked about, but just well, if you could have like two factors, what would you say? What would you say and why?
I'm going to break protocol and say three.
We'll take three. That's fine.
It's too tough to bin down only two. Yeah. No, I mean, relationships, resources, and trust. I think if you were to break it down and to really look at what drives a partnership program, I think it comes down to those three. So from a resource point of view, focusing on resources that enable partners to jumpstart the success is paramount. You have to make sure that you're supplying those resources and have that resource toolkit, as we've talked about for internal teams. Make sure you have that for your partners as well. They want to see that success. So I advocate that we should be creating short, medium, and long-term result frameworks, so that you can almost use it as a stepping stone effect, where you create that short-term win to influence and gain confidence in leadership to see, look, this works. This is a program that we can see results, which then will give you that sort of breathing space to then go on to work on the medium-term initiatives, and then so forth and so forth. So, having that resource toolkit and having those resources, enablement resources to essentially prove that a partner program works via results is key. Second one, relationships. That's a no-brainer. That's a cornerstone of any successful partnership. You need to keep that enablement and expectations clear, as we've said, so partners can essentially concentrate on building the relationships with their partners. That's very important to them. It's funny, a lot of people go into partnerships thinking that you sign a partner up and they're automatically going to start proactively selling selling your solution.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You really needs to. It needs to be it's a total give, genuine givers gain relationship, and they need to see that, but going both ways. And it's ultimately to ensure ease of use of free flowing enablement. It's absolutely key and something that we've already just touched on. And I think thirdly is trust. And that comes down to two things. And I think this is a blanket concept, whether you're in partnerships or sales or marketing, really important CX team, your AE team, really important people that are part of that partnership journey and partnership program, that it comes down to two factors. Your partner or customers or their customers must have complete trust in yourself and your team and what your outcome and vision is, and making sure that it's aligned. And number two, I think partners and their customers may also have to have complete trust in your processes and your shared outcomes. Super, super, super important stuff. So that you are aligned. And I think when you talk about alignment, those three sort of main points, resources, relationships, and trust, you get those right, and everything else tends to fall in place.
In place. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think it's just really, really good way to bring this to a close. Like I said, totally agree with all those points. I think like everything, those are the key things. Obviously, a lot of things easier said than done. You have to build those, and I think again, it's just one of those things that you try. Sometimes things might not work out. You learn, and then you take those things, the next time around. So, but yeah, look, I just want to say thank you. Come to the end. Really appreciate you coming and spend time coming, talk to us at Findr. So really, really enjoyed a lot of top tips there. Hopefully, listeners will taken something out of it as well. And just again, thank you very much, and look forward to working seeing in the future. I'm sure I'll see you another soon.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Carl. I really appreciate the opportunity again, and I love talking about partnerships. I like what I do, and I can talk about partnerships till the cows come home. And I think if we enable everybody to attract those partnerships and attract partnership as a genuine go-to-market strategy, then it's a win-win.
Win-win. That's amazing. Thank you. Good. All right, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. And look forward to catching up soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carl. I'll see you. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining this week's Game Set Matchup. Tune in to hear more about the need to knows and the do's and don'ts when it comes to creating successful business partnerships.